Hi, guys, and welcome back to Marantz. Rantz, plenty of good information, a little bit of motivation, a whole lot of truth, no financial advice. I've been working on Connect the Dots Part 50 for about 2 months, in and out, waiting for things to play out for Bed Bath & Beyond. This is a one-take session, no edits, no cuts, about the bankruptcy that is Bed Bath & Beyond, how it was orchestrated, how it actually happened in real time, and how we try to warn everyone. But there's so many pieces that are connecting that I started doing Connect the Dots. And it started taking over most of my day and my energy. It's Christmas right now. And I realize I'm not going to finish because I just keep going and I never stop going. I keep going from one person to the next to one problem. And the reality is the video doesn't have to be 2 hours long. The video doesn't have to be that in depth because the story is written. The security itself has been extinguished. It's been deleted. So everyone who had Bed Bath & Beyond shares, they lost every bit of equity they had in them. But we're still going to do Connect the Dots. I'm still going to show it to you. I was supposed to go live today, and I didn't go live because I'm going to make this video for you. So roll with me as I show you Bed Bath & Beyond. And I'll take myself off the screen. Connect the Dots, Bed Bath & Gone. So I'll play this for you so that we're clear about why we're here. The reason why we're here is because Ryan Cohen, the chairman, CEO, executive chair for GameStop, bought into Bed Bath & Beyond and led a lot of people to follow in his footsteps. Additionally, he put out a request via the SEC, and he said he would be selling his position, which he did. For whatever reason, YouTubers, Reddit personalities, and the rest decided to misinterpret that and say that it's not true, that he wanted to be in the company. But I'll show you exactly what happened to this company, and we'll listen to it, and we'll watch it. Here we go.
You disclosed a 9.8% stake in Bed Bath & Beyond in March of this year and urged the board to adjust the company's strategy. In August, you sold that position. Why?
I have a standstill with the company, so I have to be careful what I say. So I'll speak more in generalities. My views of the business clearly changed, and I was highly critical of the strategy and the strategy in the letter that I put out. In general, it's rare to see a company go from aggressively repurchasing shares to losing a lot of money, and so when I saw that and I saw the results, my views changed of the business, and ultimately I sold.
So that was Ryan Cohen in his interview with GMEDD.com. And Joey was asking him, why did he get out of Bed Bath & Beyond? And he told you why. His views changed. Now, we knew about the share buyback program. We knew about a lot of bad things. But the bankruptcy went through right after he sold. I tell you, it went through about 9 months later. And as it went through, we told everyone, this channel at least said, hey guys, it's done. They're done. It's private equity. They swept in. They did an overload. And it's because we started doing the homework on it. I had not even known what Connect the Dots was at the time until I really started digging deep. And this is the outcome of the bankruptcy.
As this court is aware, stock held by out-of-the-money equity is routinely canceled in Chapter 11 cases. And this is, of course, because equity always gets paid last under the absolute priority rule codified in Section 1129B2. And under the debtor's plan, unsecured creditors aren't getting paid in full. Again, under the disclosure statement, the projections are that general unsecured creditors will only receive at best 2.5 cents on the dollar. So based on this, equity can't receive anything. Appellant's argument that their equity interest should have somehow been returned to the debtor prior to being canceled is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of the Chapter 11 process.
So the fundamental misunderstanding of the Chapter 11 process, what we've talked about in detail with numerous YouTubers and Reddit personalities and Twitter guys, here are the classifications for payout via a Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And you'll see the secured claims, which are the first lien, second lien, priority unsecured claims, and then the GUCs. But even in there, as you go down the list, it's going to show you here that under Class 6, the GUCs, the general unsecured claims, they're entitled to about $2.4 billion at max, but only 2.5% of that, so on the dollar. So the projected recovery plan is 2% for every basically dollar, or for in this case, if you go all the way down to number 9, interest Bed Bath & Beyond, they're listed as to get 0. The projected recovery plan is 0 for the shareholders. I want everyone to know that there's not like some secret out here. They literally said it's worthless, and as you know, the shares have been deleted and they are worthless. As we come across here, it tells you that they secured $40 million in new money for the DIP financing. Moreover, Bed Bath & Beyond has filed a motion to establish procedures govern an efficient, public, and flexible auction process, meaning they were going to basically liquidate. And I don't want to use the word liquidate because they didn't go to Chapter 7, but this was a voluntary bankruptcy. They put themselves there. So as you can see, they voluntarily applied for bankruptcy on April 23rd. We talked about it, and it was of their own. They filed a voluntary petition for reorganization under Chapter 11. We knew that there was no reorganization to be made because no one was going to buy. If you look at Bed Bath & Beyond's charts, we'll look at the goodwill and intangibles first. From 2017 to 2018, remember in 2019 is when 3 hedge funds went ahead and announced that they wanted to have an overhaul on the board, a hostile takeover. And they gave you this idea that they knew what they were doing. And that was Macellum and Cora and Legion Partners. As you can see, they burned off all goodwill. Once that happens, it's just nuts to nuts, cash on cash. The balance sheet itself is going to show you that they were negative $3.1 billion in a net cash position, the debt compared to what they had. But $2.88 billion with shareholder equity was in the negative in 2022. This is the same time frame that numerous people told you to buy the shares. And if you looked at the balance sheet and you looked at what shareholder equity was, it was in a deficit of $2.88 billion. That's how you can call bankruptcy. You saw it coming. They actually set it up this way. They did numerous things to make it happen. Bed Bath & Beyond's net income, once again, negative $3.5 billion. You can see the transition. You can see when it pivoted to go bankrupt. It was from 2018 and on. We talked about it. In the last 12 months, operating cash flow is negative $1 billion. Mind you, they did raise some cash. They did sell off some shares, dilute their float. That's just an equity crunch just to draw it out of you, squeezing more blood out of the rock. But you can see the complete upside down turn. They made a true commitment to bankruptcy in 2022. The gross profit margins, obviously, they shrank to where they cannot be recovered. This is at the same time you might have some YouTubers yelling out to the wind saying, people shop there. These stores are profitable. You will see top line revenue decrease by more than 100% and or 50%, 50%, 50%, right? Operating income, negative $2.78 billion. Bed Bath & Beyond is going to show you they flipped from 2014, an all-time high at $80 a share. They started doing share buyback programs. When they started doing the share buyback, I want people to know they were in the hole, billions of dollars. But this is a coordinated attack. Guys, don't worry. Bed Bath & Beyond can't happen again. If I'm around, I'm making videos because I'm going to tell it to you right when it happens. Like I tell you, they're pushing Foot Locker in front of you. They're pushing Kohl's. And now we'll look right here what happened. On April 11th of 2019, the very same day, 2 sources came out and made these comments. First, it was Jim Cramer. Sound familiar? He says, so here's my message to Bed Bath & Beyond. Give the activists what they want. At least the activists have a plan. The current management, yeah, they don't. I say their motto is, if you don't know where you're going to go, any route looks fine. Bottom line, it's time for a wholesale change at the management at Bed Bath & Beyond. The company still has a good balance sheet, $1 billion in cash, so I think it can be saved. But I got to tell you something, not with this management team, not at all. So Jim Cramer's already pushing out the message to get rid of the leadership and bring in a new one. Next thing you know, Brian Suzy, and you guys know Brian Sozzi, whatever his damn name is, you know how he puts out misinformation and or follows the trend. Bed Bath & Beyond is failing, and the activists, savaging management are 100% right. And here's the thing. Leadership change of both board and management team is a precursor to reestablishing credibility with the investment community. That is what Legion Partners put out. That's what Macellum put out. They are telling you guys that this was their Restore Bed Bath & Beyond program. When I look at the top 3 up there, I've seen them in other companies. I saw them try to take over Genesco Brands. It didn't happen. Genesco Brands had a CEO that was competent, and she knew what she was doing, so they got pushed out. They went on to their next victim, which was Bed Bath & Beyond. They went on to their next one, which is Kohl's right now. But you'll see Worldmart down here, Cost Plus Worldmart. They sold that off. Bye Bye Baby was their only profitable section of this company. They had this all planned out. Now, the mission statement, read it. Chris Kuiper tells you from Legion Partners, we strongly believe Bed Bath & Beyond is not realizing its true potential. Our goal is to make Bed Bath & Beyond a rewarding place to work for its 65,000 employees and a more profitable company in which to invest. Two goals we believe are 100% aligned. Here's the issue that I have with Legion Partners. If you stand behind the words of Chris Kuiper, explain to me why I went bankrupt 4 years later, why the profits are not there, why the investment's not there. You know, these guys can all claim that they're here to do the right thing for the company and the shareholder, but we all know who John Duskin is. If you don't know who he is, go look at Connect the Dots part, 6 maybe. And when you look at it, we've broken him down. He's from Global Cross and he's from SAC Capital. They're from other companies that gone bankrupt. It all starts with putting the board structure and executive team in place with the skills and experience needed to meet the challenges facing retail today. Now, if you're going to face the challenges that retailers face today, think about it like this. They were willing to plant people onto this board, into the board of directors at Bed Bath & Beyond, like they have at every other company. All these guys have experience. They're all going to tell, we've been on executive boards for X, Y, and Z. That's why Sue Gove exists, right? And when you see people like this that have been on multiple executive boards for retail, ask yourself if these are successful brands. You know, Carter's has gone bankrupt. Papa John's was a restructuring after their creator used racial slurs online. Shutterfly is an Apollo-run brand. Mattel, upside down. Primo, still not good. City Trends, same deal, and then Children's Place bankruptcy as well. And Perry Ellis, third party. So when I look at all of it, and I see what they've done in the past, you're going to look at their executive boards. So what they're going to tell you here on the executive boards that they have, right here it tells you at the bottom, current directors have served on a total of one other public retail board. Our nominees have served on 20 retail boards, 20 public retail boards. Here's the problem. Just because you can show that there's 20 people or 20 boards that they've served on, how many of those companies have gone bankrupt? That's what you have to ask yourself. It's not how many, like, what's the experience? You can give me all the experience in the world, but if you're terrible at your job, why should you still be getting hired? So what happened at Bed Bath & Beyond? 3 hedge funds pushed out numerous. This is just 10 of them. There's more than that. And I didn't even want to go into it all. I think it was 14 that they pushed out. But here's some that we'll highlight. And I could have gone in deeper, guys. I could have kept going. But at this point, after the news I had today, I was just like, you know what? Forget it. We're just going to leave it where it's at. Because I have an update at the end of this. Right here. So to give you an example, Jeff Kerwin, 52 years old at the time. He was Maurice's. And if you don't know, the private equity ties there all the way down from the Gap as well. But all of, and I'll explain it all. So we'll go here. Jeff Kerwin, board of director, board member at Bed Bath & Beyond, at Maurice's. But Maurice's was bought out by OP Capita. Now, OP Capita, if you look right here, agrees to acquire a majority stake in Maurice's. So if you look at their director, the guy who actually runs their whole show, Henry Jackson is from the Macy's and Federated Department Stores. He actually did the merger there. And you know who was in on that private equity deal. So Ascena completes the sale of Maurice's. So that's how it all worked out. They actually sold from Ascena Group. Now, Ascena Retail Group sold to Maurice's, or sold to OP Capital, right? But if you guys know what that was, Ascena announced that Sycamore Partners had completed an acquisition of Ann Taylor. They've bought everything in the mall. Every single store in the mall is owned by private equity, essentially. And when you go through this, if we look down this list here, you're going to see here that Sycamore as well owns the Limited, Staples, and Dollar General. If you go all the way down here, Royal Caribbean Cruise, Hudson Bay Company, and they made bids to buy Kohl's. Of course, they made bids to buy Kohl's, but if you know the truth, at the very bottom, it tells you that they own Chico's. We've talked about Chico's in the past. Numerous people on executive board at Chico's had ties to Zell's Jewelers and every other retail company, and that's all for us, right? What I tell you, all for us, is you're going to pay attention to the connections between GameStop, Ascena, all of it. So I'll show you here. David Jaffe, the chair of Ascena, the actual group that sold off to, and they own Maurice's before. So if you ever want to know like how you get the dots there, here is one right here. This individual here his mother owned a company called Dress Barn. But in addition to owning Dress Barn, this guy's been running private equity the whole way through, partnered up for years. He's also University of Penn. Okay, he was at the Wharton School of Business. But if you look, he had partnerships here with this individual, Carrie Tefner. Carrie Tefner, who is running a leadership position at Crocs. We know that's owned by private equity. We've talked about it. He's also had a partnership at FAIR, which is FARE. And when he's at FAIR, on the board of governors with him is John J. Hanna, who is the chairman of the board of directors at Apollo Investment Corporation. He is one of the founding guys at Apollo. So this guy already, David Jaffe and Apollo, are partnered up on numerous boards. Carrie Tefner was on Ascena Retail Group and went from Ascena over to GameStop. She was on GameStop's board. She got pushed out by Ryan Cohen. Anyone from Ascena Retail Group, anyone from OP, what I was talking about before right here, the OP Capita, all these guys are private equity firms doing deals with each other, but you have to know they have direct ties to Ascena's founder steps down as the CEO. When he stepped down, his mother was like, I guess she was relieved, but just remember the Dress Barn because there's another connection there. He was there with Dress Barn. She had been with Dress Barn from the beginning. That's how they all started their career, via their mom, believe it or not. But yes, they have ties to Apollo. Here's the next one, and that was just Jeff Kerwin. I hope you guys can follow the dots there. Jeff Kerwin used to work for Maurice's. He was executive chairman of the board over there. Additionally, he's an operating partner at OP Capita. They actually bought out Maurice's from Ascena, who had ties to GameStop. Then he goes over to Bed Bath & Beyond. He runs the show there. They run the game. Now we'll go to the next one. Janet Grove. Janet Grove, not to be confused with Sue Gove, but Janet Grove is she's former everything for Macy's and Federated. She worked for Macy's, she worked for Federated, 30-something years she was doing it. But the dead giveaway for me, not only Safeway is private equity, but Club Corp. She is on Club Corp's board of directors. If you guys don't know, Club Corp is actually owned by Apollo Asset Management Group. So when they bought them out, they put her on the board of directors. ARO Liquidation Inc., she's on the board of directors for them as well. So as we go through and we check the list here, Safeway, a supermarket chain, and Club Corp is where she's been. It tells you she did 38 years with Macy's, but she's been on the board of directors at Safeway, and Safeway is owned by Cerberus Capital. If you guys do not know about Cerberus Capital, their creator, their founder at Cerberus Capital is actually Drexel Burnham Lambert as well, an alumni of Drexel Burnham Lambert. So that's who bought out on Safeway, did a deal with Kroger. She's had partnerships with private equity the whole way, but you'll be right there. It says it up top right here. I believe it's Steve Feinberg. So Steve Feinberg is the creator of Cerberus Capital, and he is formerly of Drexel Burnham Lambert. You'll see it right here. Feinberg worked as a trader at Drexel Burnham. So you can only imagine the ties they have to private equity. Here at Club Corp, if you don't know Club Corp, Apollo owns it. And you'll see here the first guy up, he used to be at the Caesars Entertainment Corporation in Las Vegas. Of course, if you're with Caesars, I'm telling you that's private equity because of the deal that happened called the Caesars coup. We've talked about it in other parts. Jim Barra here. Jim was at Starwood Hotels. If you don't know who Starwood is, you should pay attention. That's Adam Aaron was at Starwood as well. And we'll look here at Brian Koch. If you look at him, he is with Diamond Resorts. Apollo owns Diamond Resorts. Apollo bought out Diamond Resorts, so they put a board of director there. The next guy is Diamond Resorts and Apollo themselves. He's the chief of staff and head of product development for Diamond Resorts. That is Vladimir Anokin, I believe it's his name. Andrew Lacko. Andrew Lacko, this is all Club Corp, guys. This is who has ties to this young lady, Janet Grove. Hertz Global Rental. So if it's Hertz Global Holdings, we know who it is. We know that that's also Apollo. They went ahead and bought them out, if you guys don't know. And Apollo buys out Diamond Resorts just to show you that they bought them out for $2.2 billion. So you wonder where these board of directors came from. In May, Club Corp reached a settlement deal with activists Front 4 Capital Group. Now, Front 4 Capital Group has two independent directors that they hired to put on to Club Corp. Then Apollo comes in and buys in. These guys agree to sell. The two people they put onto the board, this is Front 4 Capital. Front 4 Capital put two people, Simon Turner and Manny Perlman. Simon Turner and Manny Perlman. I want to point this out because it looks like Front 4 Capital puts their people before Apollo buys it. You tell me what's being pumped out, and we'll go from there. Here's Simon Turner first. So Simon Turner worked for Starwood Hotels and Resorts. I told you Adam Aaron was there as well. And then he's also on the Jonathan Tisch Advisory Board. Now, if you guys don't know about the Tisch Center and Hospitality, the advisory board there, the Tisch brothers, we talked about them. Andrew Tisch used to be a board director at Zales Jewelers, and they also these guys own Lowell's Movie Theater Complex. They did the deal with AMC. AMC bought them out. That was an Apollo deal. So Simon Turner's on board of directors with individuals that have direct ties, Jonathan Tisch, to Apollo, and they do. Now, if you look here up at the top, Starwood Hotels, we're going to talk about it in detail for a minute because I know Adam Aaron has ties to it. That's Apollo. But what the hell's going on if we have multiple people there that are now on this board of directors for another company, right? Like when Forefront, is it Forefront or Front 4? Forefront, I believe. When they put people on the board of directors, it doesn't matter. Look at this. Okay, I'm going to show you something. Steve Hayer Steve Hayer resigned as chief executive officer, CEO, and director of Starwood Hotels. So Bruce W. Duncan replaced him. Now, when he replaces him, because this guy retired, you got to know why he retired. It was spoken about in all these terms right now. If you go Google him right now, he just got charged with trying to have sex with a minor, or he did. I can't remember. He was trading out gifts and money for sex with a minor, allegedly, Steve Hayer. But the crazy part is when I started looking into him and he got moved out, this new CEO comes in. Mr. Duncan is a senior advisor at KKR. So KKR is embedded over there at Starwood Hotels, no different. Who replaced KK Duncan? Oddly enough, Adam Aaron has just resigned as the CEO of Starwood after became the CEO of AMC. So he's the one who replaced Duncan. Adam Aaron did. But there was a guy in between for like a month, but it didn't matter. Why do I want to talk about Steve Hayer? Steve Hayer, right here, this is the guy who stepped down at Starwood. His brother is Andrew Hayer. And his brother, if you know who his brother is, he actually runs a private equity firm. He was a partner at Drexel Burnham Lambert. You'll see it right there. Drexel Burnham Lambert, he's a partner. And they run SPACs. And all the SPACs that they run and everything they run, everything that puts money into it. And I looked at everything they do. You'll see who owns a portion of the SPACs who put in money. Not to mention he's on the board of trustees at the Wharton Business School. He's the chairman of the board of the school. So his brother is in there with Starwood Hotels. He's been everywhere. Steve Hayer is the bad guy, apparently, from what I was reading. But he's also had partnerships with Bain Capital. These guys are all private equity, and they're brothers, and his brothers, what I'm telling you, Drexel Burnham Lambert. So they donate money to University of Penn, over $100,000 easy every year. Turning Point and New Horizons. The brothers do, at least, and that's Andrew. Apollo Global Management Holdings buys Churchill Capital Point and whatever it means. Nordstrom, they're telling you what they put money into. But if you look at what they put money into, Apollo put money into it's called Haymaker Acquisition Corp. So they actually put money in to the Acquisition Corp. Do you know who runs that Haymaker Acquisition Corp? Andrew Hayer and Steve Hayer. So they actually get money. The brothers get money from Apollo for their other fund. It's like spreading around funds. And he was the CEO of Starwood. So when I tell you that's how it's run, that's how it's run. Next, you're going to look at Manny Perlman. Okay, Manny Perlman has direct ties to Midcap Financial Investment Group. That's where he works today. If you don't know Midcap Financial is an Apollo. I want to say it'll tell you right here. It's a managed business development company focused on providing senior debt solutions to middle market companies. We derive significant benefits from our affiliation with Apollo. So Manny works directly for Apollo, and the other connections between that, and that's via Midcap Financial Investment Corporation, operates as part of Apollo's direct origination platform, which it provides full-service debt solutions. Now, he also was on the board of directors at Redbox. We know that's owned by Apollo as well. Remember, people pushed out misinformation on all of this back in the day where they're like, you want to be like Redbox, you want to be like Hertz. It's like, why are you guys all naming Apollo-run companies? It's crazy to me. And or, Ares run companies or KKR run companies. So Club Corp. Remember, we talked about this. This is all from Janet Grove. She has connections across the board. And the reason why we go in depth, guys, from like company to company is so that you recognize the names, you understand it. I told you that Forefront Capital was planting people on the board of directors before Club Corp bought them. So because they put the two people on the board of directors, they put these new guys, Manny and Simon. Here they come in. They come in and they buy it. So they go ahead and buy it. Apollo Global Management buys them out. And it tells you right here. Sunday announcement comes about after 3 months after Club Corp's board said it would not seek a sale. Long-term CEO Eric announced at the same time that he would be retiring. A month later, the company added 2 new directors at the BS of activists. I'm going to put myself on the camera so you guys can see me. There we go. So it tells you that he put out two new people. Now it tells you the activist investor Forefront Capital Group LLC had been critical of Club Corp's management. So they come in, they plant 2 people on the board. The minute they do it, they vote and they sell to Apollo. Why is that significant? Because I've seen it happen before. And here's how it happens. This individual here is the CEO. His name is Zachary George. He is the CEO of SNDL, Sundial Growers. You guys know the brand. You guys know the name. Remember when we talked about deploying stocks onto retail, putting out there on Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, everything? Connect these dots. Every stock they've ever pumped out in front of you had direct ties to private equity. They pumped out S&DL to you. I know because I was there. I saw it. I never bought it, but I saw it run to $4. I've seen it do reverse stock splits. I've seen it done everything. But this individual here has been known, Zachary George, a young kid. He's a young man. He runs S&DL. He runs his own private equity firm called Forefront Capital. And they're front feeders for Apollo. Now, he was brought up in a different world because his dad is one of the biggest oil icons in Canada. And the way it worked for him is he was willing to buy the stock that his dad was the CEO on or the chairman of the board, and they held it. And it tells you here, hedge fund activist, soft spot, a 90% loser led by his father. His dad was the chairman of the board, and he was willing to hold the stock for losses. They were going to hold the stock, and he did that. He didn't care. And it just tells you that it's not good business to a point, but Pinwest Petroleum is the company, and this is his dad, Rick George. He dies at 67. There's a sister named Emily George. Now I'm not gonna say this is her because I don't know. I went fishing, I went looking, I looked everywhere, but I found Emily George working at Boston Consulting Group. So either the daughter works at Boston Consulting Group and the son works on his own investment firm, but they both have ties to Apollo Sundial Growers. But don't quote me on that one just because I can't confirm that that's the Emily George that is the daughter. That's the only one I could find, so I put it there just so you guys can do the homework for me if you want. I've been doing it. But yeah, unfortunately, he passed away at 67, left millions and billions of dollars for his son, and his son runs his own firm. Now, this is why it's a problem, okay? Forefront Capital. If you guys are not familiar, they did the deal where they put 2 people on the board of directors at Club Corp. Somebody like Janet Grove is going to vote at Club Corp, agree to sell the company. Those guys all agree, and they sell it to Apollo. Sound familiar? Watch this. Spring Owl Asset Management expresses concern over the OM Group, Inc. sell agreement. So OM Group sells their company to Apollo. And Apollo agrees to buy it, but they buy it for pennies on the dollars, guys. Not nearly what it's worth. And the reason why these guys are upset, this guy over here, Andrew Wallach. Andrew Wallach is the co-founder at Spring Owl Asset Management. And he tells you, he says, you know what? It's because they have ties to people on the board of directors over here at OM Group. They have 2 people on the board of directors, direct ties. And he says it right here. It says that because he was working at Drexel Burnham Lambert, of course he would know. He would know who all these Drexel guys are because he was one. Andrew Wallach used to work at Drexel. It says it right here for almost 3 years, 2 years, 7 months. He worked at Drexel. So he worked with all the bad guys. He is a bad guy per se, but now he's pissed off that the deal went through and he lost money on this deal because they're a small, 5% stakeholder. OM Group to be taken private by Apollo on a $1 billion deal. And people are mad. Forefront has said that the OM had a bloated cost structure. It's significantly overcapitalized. Guess who Forefront Capital is? It's that guy. It's George. It's Zachary George, the kid. That's all it is. So he goes in and he tells you, hey, it's this, and they sell. They sell, no problem. So, of course, Drexel Burnham Lambert alumni is going to call them out because they gave a sweetheart deal to Apollo. That was the whole deal. OM Group, Forefront announced agreement. Forefront came in. They put people on the board. Who'd they put? Joe Gino. They put A. Schulman, and he's the chairman of A. Schulman, Inc. Now, when you go and look at A. Schulman, Inc., you look at all the other people, this Londell Basel, I don't even know that Basel, I don't know the company, completes acquisition of A. Schulman. And when you really do your homework here, it tells you right here, the planned okay to commitment from Apollo Management to help the firm exit bankruptcy. So in 2010, Apollo helps Londell Basel, whatever their name is, get out of bankruptcy. Then they agree to acquire A. Schulman, Inc. A. Schulman, Inc.'s board of directors are on the board of directors at OM Group. Think about this. Co-founder of Forefront Capital, LLC, and Joe M. Gino, chairman of A. Schulman, will join current directors Carl R. Christensen on the company's slate of nominees. So they're all going to the board of directors on the buyout. That's why the Drexel Burnham Lambert guy was pissed. He's like, man, the Apollo just planted their people from one group to the next, from one company to the next. And it tells you it was the biggest deal. It was forced into bankruptcy. Apollo, Ares, and somebody else organized an $8 billion dip restructuring financing. So if you don't think, guys, I'm just telling you, if you don't think that private equity connects from one company to the next, to the next, to the next, Apollo and Ares did this deal. The close ties between Ares and Apollo throughout this deal were not surprising, given Ares founder Tony Resler was previously partner at Apollo, and his sister is married to Apollo's founder, Leon Black. That's Deborah Resler, Deborah Black. We know this. It's the number one lucrative deal in Apollo's 23-year history at the time. At the time, it was a big deal, $8 billion in bankruptcy deal. Now we said that she was there. This is all, we're still on Janet Grove. She has ties to all of these companies. ARO liquidation, okay? Aeropostale has filed for motion of bankruptcy. So she's with them. When I looked at this, I wonder why I put this here. I put the Farrell one here because U.S. hedge fund 4 Capital has called for the company's strategic plan. They attempted to do a hostile takeover here as well. But if you know about Aeropostale is actually owned by Macy's. It was a private brand by Macy's before it went out on its own. But Macy's went ahead and sold it off and fractured it off. But that's what was happening. So I must have just put this one in here just to confirm. Oh, there it is right there. This is not the first time that Farrell has considered a sell. In March 2016, the Mayfield Heights Company was reported to have received takeover bids from Apollo and CVC partners, rejecting both as being too low. So they were just pricing them out. They bid each other up and they go get what they need. But I was just looking at that. I probably just left that on there in the notes. The next nominee, and we're done with Janet Grove now. Janet Grove, direct ties to private equity the whole goddamn way through. That's all I was telling you. It's a history lesson. Alex Smith, how you doing, Alex Smith? This guy's pretty particular. He's CEO of Pier 1 Imports. Now, we know Pier 1 Imports has gone bankrupt. He's also worked for the Vitamin Shop. We talked about Vitamin Shop because of Dave Caston. Dave Caston at Bed Bath & Beyond came from the Vitamin Shop. Vitamin World was Sue Gove and TJX, which is fine, TJ Maxx. But I talk about this guy in detail for a reason. Not only did he try to become a board of director at Bed Bath & Beyond, you got to know the history here. So Cheryl, it's a back ladder. I forget who she is. She's at Pier 1 as well. She's at Pier 1 before it goes bankrupt, and you know that she once worked at Nabisco. And I talk about Nabisco for a reason because Nabisco JR, if you guys know the deal, that was the KKR deal. But if we look over here to the right, it's going to tell you this year the retailer worked alongside investment group bank Guggenheim Securities. Now, we know that Guggenheim is Drexel Burnham Lambert alum. We've talked about this in detail. Go watch Connect the Dots part, I want to say 17. And that's where I explained that. But this is all about Pier 1 Imports. When you look at Pier 1 Imports, they came into an agreement. It tells you right here, Retail E-Commerce Ventures, REV, LLC, okay? And Pier 1 Imports, they agreed to sell all of its own intellectual property. Sound familiar? They agreed to sell their IP. And they sold their IP for $31 million, okay? I don't know how much everybody paid for Bed Bath & Beyond, but to buy it during the pandemic for $31 million seems like an overpay for me, considering you haven't seen or heard from Pier 1 Imports since. But it sounds like they were just moving money around, and that's exactly what happened here. So does it sound familiar to Bed Bath & Beyond? Absolutely. Why else do we keep going into it? Right here, Starboard Value owns Papa John's, right? Starboard Value put money into Papa John's. If you guys don't know that, then you need to pay attention. Remember I told you Retail E-Commerce Ventures? Not only did they buy up Pier 1 Imports for $31 million on their IP. Additionally, they also bought up recent acquisitions, Dress Barn. Dress Barn, do you know whose company that was? That was the guy all the way at the top, his mom's company, right? We'll go all the way up there if you need to. I'm going right now. That was right here. David Jaffe. His mom's first company, Dress Barn, is what they bought out. So the company that bought them out is putting people on the board of directors over here by the name of Jeff Smith, or Alex Smith, I apologize. So REV, I apologize, is the company that's doing all these deals. And right here, Worldmart. Worldmart was owned by Bed Bath & Beyond. In October of 2019, Bed Bath & Beyond announced the pending closure of 40 Bed Bath & Beyond stores and 20 Worldmart stores. The company sold Cost Plus Worldmart to Kingswood Capital Management in February 2021. That just happened. They just sold this asset before they went bankrupt. Remember what I tell you. They were planning for bankruptcy the whole time since 2018. They cut off a portion of their assets and sold it, Worldmart. They sold it to Kingswood Capital. Why does that matter so much to me? Well, I'll show you. First, it's up here. It tells you in a letter, Pier 1 Imports President Alexander Smith, who I just showed you, Alex Smith, trying to go on the board of directors with Bed Bath & Beyond, and Chairman Tom Thomas, Cost Plus board said the merger proposal is not in the best interest of Cost Plus, meaning Pier 1 tried to buy them out first. Pier 1 couldn't get them. Alexander Smith tried to go get them. and he couldn't. So now he's coming over to Bed Bath & Beyond directly, and they're trying to get this out of Bed Bath & Beyond. Guess what they got out of Bed Bath & Beyond? They got Cost Plus, right? They got him out. So Bed Bath & Beyond on Tuesday said it completed the sale of Cost Plus World Mart subsidiary to the Southern California private equity firm. The private equity firm is Kingswood Capital Management. You guys paying attention? I hope so. The deal with Los Angeles Kingswood Capital Management was announced mid-December, and the transaction price wasn't disclosed. But read the bottom. In connection with the transaction, Kingswood named Alexander Smith. Alexander Smith is Retail's senior management team, formerly leading the executive chair at Pier 1 Imports. So when he was at Pier 1, he tried to buy it. They said, no, it's not cost effective. He goes over to Bed Bath & Beyond. He gets Bed Bath & Beyond to sell it to Kingswood, and then he goes and becomes the CEO of it for Kingswood. Private equity plants, guys. It's a run on you. It's too easy. And if you want to look at Kingswood right here, we can look at him. Alexander Wolf is the managing partner and founder of Kingswood. If you don't know who he is, before Kingswood, Alex was a was at two leading private equity firms, an original member of both Ares Capital and Sybaris Capital. Both are run by Drexel Burnham Lambert alum. Okay, Alexander Wolf is no different. So if you want to know Kingswood, pay attention to that one and pay attention how that actually happened. Ares and Apollo and Sybaris, they all got their assets out of Bed Bath & Beyond. For like the last 5 years, guys, they've been gutting it dry. Why are you not paying attention? Here, we'll do it a different way. We'll go a whole nother route with this Connect the Dots. Right here with this young man, Victor Herrero, being nominated for the board of directors at Bed Bath & Beyond. He comes from Guess. He comes from, I don't know how to say this, Index and or Zara Home. Zara Home, Index, whatever the hell that thing is. Those guys are the richest people in the world. It's the number one brands in the world because it comes from a director, Carlos Alberini. He's over there running Lucky Brand. He's running Guess. And where do they all come from? They come from private equity. But what they run is a company called Footstar. They used to run a company called Footstar. Footstar's in the pink sheets under FTAR in 2012. But if you know about Footstar, they actually got bought out in a combination with, CVS Pharmacy, Linens and Things, Kmart, and Sears. All right, so they were all connected, and it tells you here, Footstar was a spinoff from the Melvin Corporation in 1996, and that's what they own. So and even KB Toys, everything ends up in bankruptcy. Everything ends up on private equity side. So the director right now of Guess, who just replaced this guy, his replacement, Victor, when he left, was private equity, and it was the guy who managed to manage, all the bankruptcies in the world out there. But we're going to go to a different step right here. Zara billionaire Ortega buys Chicago apartment tower for $232 million. Now, I showed you guys a portion of this because we talked about how the connections between, I believe it's Crescent Heights real estate, how they're connected to, it's right here. I actually have it right here. I don't want to lose track of it. It's this one. How Crescent Heights Real Estate and Russell Galbut, how they're connected to AMC movie theaters via Norwegian Cruise Lines, right? They're all Norwegian Cruise Line executives. I saw it here. I felt it. But I'm going to talk about this for a minute. Zara. Zara owns everything. And they've partnered up with Crescent Heights. But if you see here, they also partnered up with KKR. And Norwegian Cruise Lines, that's where he's at. He's on the board of directors of Norwegian Cruise Lines. We talked about that, how Adam Aaron's there too. But if you read the fine print, KREST, which is the KKR Real Estate Select Trust, they're the ones who are doing partnerships with Zara. So Zara, if you look here, Zara billionaire Ortega, who is the third richest man in the world at one point last year, and he's multi-billionaire guy. This guy's from Spain. He owns everything, all the retail companies in the world. But his family office is called Bointangara, I don't even know how to say the name, acquired 728 West Madison from a joint venture of Ares Management. So a guy who's doing billion-dollar deals with Ares is right here on the board of directors trying to get there. Now, I could keep going down this line, but what was the point? What's the point? And I'm going to tell you why what's the point, because I'm going to show you this. This is going to be completely off the screen. It's something that I want to show you. We showed this letter in one of the videos I just did, and it tells you Bed Bath & Beyond shares have been canceled and they're gone forever. And this is from the actual, the top lawyer part of the bankruptcy who's telling you, guess what? The recovery is not going to be there for shareholders. There's nothing there. They've all been canceled. That was the video I just made. Next is going to be this one where he says, no, there's no deal with 6th Street because there's nothing to be made. The last email I have is this one. Now, this one's private. This one's no one's seen this one yet. And this one's going to tell you that, yes, and it's underlined right here, lawsuit against Ryan Cohen is seeking to substitute as plaintiff and continue to sue him. So what it means is they're still going after Ryan, okay? Butterflies continue to sue Ryan Cohen. It basically eliminates any idea that Ryan would want to do business with them and that they're going to be business partners moving forward, because that narrative is gone if we're still trying to sue the man, right? We're still trying to get to him. And you guys can figure it out any way you want, but that's really going down. I'm going to leave it where it's at on that because I want to show you something. You know, this connect the dots doesn't stop just here. I'm going to go on this side, and I'm going to go right to, see if I can get it here. No, it's not going to be there. Remember, no edits, no cuts. I really don't care. Is it there? So I was going to go live stream, right? But I'm not going to go live stream. I'm going to go... Where is it? Let me see. Oh, it's here. Okay, cool. So I want to show you something, guys. Boom. I got it. There we go. Okay, so, you know, everyone's out here saying they're going to give you $100 to go buy some shares. They want to take over this company. They want to buy in. Now, who's the plant? Everybody asks you, who's the plant? And I'm not alleging anything. I'm asking. This is a question I have to ask. Because people are telling you to buy into Pulte Homes Group, right? PHM? Buy into Pulte Homes and get in there. It's a great company. Everybody needs to get in there and see what's going down. So when I went in there and I looked at the board of directors, which I had looked at before, but it didn't hit me until now when I started connecting dots. And I was reading, and I saw some guys that didn't make sense. You know, I'm not a big fan of CarMax being on there for a home builder. But when I looked at all of this, I looked at right here. Remember ConAgra Foods? That was a combination with Apollo. If you guys don't remember that, we talked about it, and I had connected them. So I was like, wait a minute. I've seen these names before because it tells you that he's a senior chief operating officer at Dick's. He was former VP at Dick's and former COO. It's like, oh, this guy's a plant for private equity. All right, I'll keep going. I'm going to keep going, and we're going to see what else I can find. So when I go through and I read, now some of these might be private equity. I might be able to break them down and find them, but everyone seems to keep there we go. There's another one. Starwood Land Ventures. So we know Starwood Capital is part of the Starwood Homes, or Starwood, the other part of Starwood that I was showing you before. But before I even get there, I'm going to show you something, okay? I'm going to show you the guy that everybody wants you to pay attention to. And there's Pitney Bowes, and you know, that's another private equity thing we talked about. But Ryan Marshall. Everybody wants to talk about Ryan Marshall. Okay, I'm talking about, they're telling you he's a bad guy. Got to get him out of there. This is why you need to invest. And I'm going to tell you, you know what? He is a bad guy. My opinion. He's a bad guy. Private equity firm buys Floor & Decor. Okay, you guys have seen the store, Floor & Decor. But look who buys Floor & Decor if you guys are not paying attention. Ares Management LLC buys Floor & Decor. Ares Global Management, Tony Resler, Drexel Burnham, Apollo Partnerships, they buy Floor & Decor. When they buy it, what do? They announce right here. Floor & Decor Holdings announces appointment of new directors. Floor & Decor Holdings announced that Ryan R. Marshall, who is the president and CEO of the Pulte Group, right? A couple other people here from Best Buy, another one from Homes Inc., have been appointed Floor & Decor's directors effective January 2021. And why does that matter to me? Because if it's a company that just got bought out by Ares Capital Management, Ares Management, you're going to tell me that we're going to plant Ryan Marshall onto it? See, I want to ask you guys something. Why the hell am I buying into something that Ares controls? And when you buy into Pulte Homes, you can tell me that they control it, but I'm going to show you the board of directors, and they're doing Floor & Decor, look at this, backed by Ares Management. So they don't just put people on the board of directors just to put them on there. They put people that they trust, people that are going to vote their way. Hey, I'm going to tell you guys right now. You guys just saw everything about Bed Bath & Beyond, all the connections. I mean, it's crazy. They were going to put people on this board of directors no matter what. They settled for SueGov and a whole bunch of Apollo companies. They all had ties to Apollo. They all had ties to private equity. All of them. Didn't matter. You were never going to get out of it. It was always going to go bankrupt. That was the point of this whole video so far. But when you connect these dots to the new grift that they're doing, this crowd of PP seeds and BBBY guys, they're telling you to buy into PHM. And I'm telling you, PHM's chairman of the board, CEO, is Aries. Private equity, period. Swinging. What the hell are we doing? I wouldn't touch it at all. You plan to do a hostile takeover? You got some money I don't know about? Bill Pulte, I'm asking you, are you willing to put up your own hard cash on Pulte Homes? I don't think you are. I don't think you're Ryan Cohen. I think you're a grifter. And I think this video kind of solidifies that as far as what is happening. I said I think. I'm not saying you are. Know the difference. But this just tells you private equity has ties into all of it. And even if you try to go change who's over there in charge, you're never going to win because you're actually buying into what private equity is. That's PHM as well. So call me a liar, but I guarantee you I'm right. I was right about AMC. I was right about Bed Bath & Beyond. I was right about Mullen Automotive. I was right about Foot Locker. I've been right about every single company we point out on Connect the Dots. Kohl's, you name it, everything part of this series. And I'm right again. They're telling you to buy PHM, and they found a way to weasel it in. And you want to trust people. I'll keep buying GameStop. I trust Ryan Cohen. He has no ties whatsoever to private equity. If anything, he goes in and he buys it, and he tries to beat him out himself. It's a tough road, but somebody's got to walk it, and I'll walk it with them. GameStop, can't stop, won't stop. GameStop, still the only company not losing to private equity. While the rest of you guys, figure it out. Connect those dots. If you didn't understand Connect the Dots right now and how it all worked out, every single one of the board of directors that were being nominated had ties to private equity. And you're going to tell me I'm wrong about the idea that private equity is taking over? Watch every video. Connect the dots. This is part 50. Catch up. GameStop, can't stop, won't stop. GameStop. I'll see you around, millionaires. Peace.